You're welcome. We are live. Oh, welcome to CEO Zones. Today we have a unique opportunity where we're doing a web stream, live stream, replay stream with Dr. J. Raines, and it's built exclusively for our friends at Chick-fil-A, those Chick-fil-A operators who I was one once. Now I'm old and decrepit. Jay is current with Chick-fil-A. So we're really glad you're here. And in the first 30 seconds, I'm going to put in a comment, Jay, that we welcome everybody and that if they have questions, they could put those in the comments area of the chat. They won't be able to talk to you. I'm the only babbling idiot on this side of the camera, but they will be able to put in the chat if they have a question. And typically, I would say we give it maybe another minute or two till you would really start, but maybe give a little background. Why Chick-fil-A in Dr. Raines' life?
Okay, thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me live and on this show, and thanks for the partnership we have with CEO Zones. I'm a proud content provider for those CEO Zones. So, and then a little bit, introducing myself. I'm Jay Raines. I've been working with businesses and Chick-fil-A operators for 8 years now. Fun fact, I got introduced to Chick-fil-A operators in Bangalore, India. So there's no Chick-fil-A's in Bangalore, India. They are going, they're going international. But in fact, I was always telling them these cows walking around in the streets, with their white cows with black spots. Why not? Let's do some marketing with them. I mean, they could be walking around advertising chicken, Chick-fil-A all the time. So, but I had some friends that would come and help us with our business there. And some of you may remember Scott Clark from Rogers, Arkansas, and he's now passed away. But he was one of the ones when I came back to the U.S. He said, "Hey Jay, I don't know what you're doing next, but if you could, I'd love for you to help my team. I liked what you were doing in India with leadership development in Toyota and some other businesses we were working with there. I'd love for you to help my team." So that was kind of the impetus in 2017 to jump in and start helping operators and their teams.
Okay. And from my memory, since you are a content partner with us, from my memory, which doesn't make it right, so double check me, but from my memory, you literally work with operators from the East Coast to the West Coast. You live in Texas. You have a global team that can support Chick-fil-A operators and other businesses, but specifically Chick-fil-A operators today. Is that correct from my old man?
Yes. No, we actually, we have 10 coaches on the team, and they're scattered across the U.S. and a lot of our coaching is virtual. But we're working with Bill Lynch in Manhattan. He's right there across the street from Fox News. He just actually got his second location this last year as we're working with him. So we have Bill. He wanted to be here today, but he had a meeting, couldn't join us. All the way to Seattle, San Jose, across. In fact, interestingly, we have quite a few operators in Denver that we're working with, and Phoenix. Those seem to be big. They just talk about us, and through referrals, we've really grown in those spots. So, and the entire West today is in Atlanta for a check-in. So all my West folks were like, "I'm sorry, can't be there. We're in Atlanta today." So we'll have to catch them on the replay.
Okay. And hopefully they will sign up, link in, and we'll make sure that Alexandria emails that out to them and we cover our bases. So we've been babbling in my style for about 4 minutes. I know you prepared something unique for Chick-fil-A operators, and knowing that, having been one and knowing hundreds of current Chick-fil-A operators personally, I'll just say they're probably antsy. What do you got for them today? Because it's going to be your pleasure to get to the next guest. So.
Oh, wow. We have, so just, I wanted to give you something that you could use. Chick-fil-A operators they're amazing. They've been through, you've had 19 interviews to get to be an operator. Now you're working really hard to gather the right team around you. You're building up leaders, and as I coach operators and as I work with those top level leaders that are with them, one of the things we've noticed, this is the kind of the pain point we're trying to address today, is you really wish your leaders, operators wish their leaders would take a little bit more ownership in the business. And of course, when we're talking about ownership in this context, we're talking about, kind of that vision, task ownership, where they see themselves looking at the business at a higher level, understanding how their task impacts a larger area. And so what I want to give you today is a tool that I've developed as I've coached operators to make ownership just so simple. Okay, we've all read Extreme Ownership. We've all read, Turn That Ship Around, and some other amazing ownership books. But as I walked away from those books, I was inspired. But then I was asking myself the question: so, how do I implement this tomorrow? What do I have my team read this book? And then what do they do with it? And so I wanted to develop a very simple way for you to sit down with a leader, and for your, honestly, what my goal is for your leaders to sit down with other leaders and transfer these ideas to them. So just a little bit of background about LeadersQ. Here's my coaching team. We love work. We're working with about 40 Chick-fil-A operators right now. And, we're observing these things that we're trying to address for you today. And these are things that we're trying to help your directors see, but we wanted to give you the tools to join in that conversation. Like I said, Bill was asking you where we work, and these are some of the locations. I'll be in Phoenix next week for our fourth multi-success. Brandon Barrett was awarded a third location there in Tempe, Arizona, so I'll get to celebrate with them. And then the week after that, I'll be in Rochester, Minnesota for a second location that Matt Stockdale was awarded. So we're just excited about these last 8 years, the kind of coaching and the different levels of growth that we've seen with our operators. So that, just to give you a sense of, do we know what we're talking about? I'm still learning, but we're getting there. And so we'll come back to this. I think the main question is what are we giving you today? So we can talk about the benefits of coaching in a little bit, but
can I interrupt you just a
minute?
Yeah,
Bill, go ahead.
So somebody's getting their third location, and they're your client, that you didn't have on your benefits the guardian of the brand, but it makes me believe that your ins and outs of the guardian of the brand, or you would not be having your clients get their second and third location.
That, I know that's a big topic, and MRO, we've seen, of course, now our 18th and 19th one this next couple of weeks. All those metric parts of the business are kind of almost like first mile at this point. And so I think for MRO, especially MRO 3, and I'm not representing Chick-fil-A at all, but from what I've learned in this experience is, I think what they're looking for, that's all first mile. Get your metrics right, get your profit right, IPO, get your, food safety has to be top priority. You need to be in the 1s and 2s, maybe 3s, but it needs to be really close to those 1s. But after that, I think, is the clincher. And that's what, of course, we want to help them hit those metrics. But what we're trying to do as a coaching team is to help them tell their story authentically. What's the true story about how we're systematizing the business, not only in our processes for food safety, for example, but also in our processes for people. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, we're a lot more on the people side of that question. And so we're coming in helping teams professionalize and get them ready to talk truthfully about the business when, they only have 4 hours with those interviewers. And so they need to be able to tell the story quickly and clearly. and in a way that is congruent. This is where the authenticity comes in a
Right.
way that's truly congruent with who does the operator say they are on paper, and what do their metrics look like? If they say they care about food safety, does that show up? So there's the step one. Step two is who's that person, that operator individually? How do they show up in the call and in other personal interaction? And then the visit to me is a check-in to see if there's congruence between on paper, in person, and in the location and the people. Do the people represent and do they care about the same things that the operator is saying they all care about? So I draw it as a line of parallelism, like are the team parallel with the mission of what the operator is saying? If there's congruence there, I think it's more likely a yes. If there's dissonance, that's where it becomes likely a no. So we've got 4 markers that we look for and help teams work on. And I would say if you could take one word from that is intentionality. Are we intentionally leading? And can we do that at scale? Are we intentionally acting? And can we create a system that does that at scale? So those are the 4 marker areas. And really the center word for that is intentionality. But it's a great question. It comes up a lot. It's such a challenging time. You're having to change, well, not change. You're having to represent something. They don't have a muscle for that. They haven't had to use that muscle of presenting themselves until they're getting ready to do this MRO. And it is just, we feel like it's been good for us to come along and support that, especially if we've been coaching them for months and years before this happens, so they can tell their story authentically. And that's really the key word, is being authentic.
So I'll use a Jimmy Collinism here. What you just said to in my old Jimmy Collins listening would be, and I guess there's new operators might not even know who Jimmy Collins is, but he was the president.
They might ought to know who Jimmy Collins is.
He was the president after Truett and before Dan, as the non-family member president, the only non-family member president. So he was family, right? His last name was Sad Collins, but it was spelt Cathy. But in any event, he would say something like, you take all that data and then you go to your local restaurant and prove it out in the culture that you see. And those two things are kind of what you're bringing to my old man mind, right?
Absolutely.
I hear it. I feel it. I see the numbers. I know the P&L upside down. I know you have your costs in line. I know that the mystery shopper or the guest surveys are in alignment, but now I got to go see it, because what I can't get out of the data, I will hear from the very first employee when I walk in the door, or when I'm driving into the parking lot. I'll be able to tell you if the data is skewed or not, right? Just by looking at the outside of the building. Okay, so I threw you off, but we multiply you.
Well, I was going to say the support center interview, when they're coming that day, they are amazing interviewers. And just like you said, they are so tuned in to sniff out any incongruence. And once they see it, then they're going to go after that on the interview. They want to know more. And so having the team be ready to have a depth of answers and a measure of confidence about their answers. And that's where it gets really challenging with somebody who is, IPOS yesterday as a team member, and now they're running half of a $12 million business. There's some professionalism that we want to help them get up to speed on.
Well, back when I did unit visits, that was way back in the dark ages, right? The Civil War had just happened, and Truett and I would go do a unit visit, or maybe there'd be 2 in the same town back then, and he'd take one, I'd take the other. But you would listen for things like a temporary part-time employee would say to the operator, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a month. How you been?" Well, Is that
Uh-oh.
the person, you go back and look on the schedule and go, haven't they worked in a month, or hasn't he or she been here in a month? One of those two things, right?
Right. Or they just not paying attention.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
All
So
right.
we multiply you at LeadersQ. Yeah.
That's, in fact, I was speaking to the female operator group a couple of weeks ago on Amelia Island there at the Ritz-Carlton. They were having their annual female operator group meeting, and I actually put this up on the screen for them too. And I got a chuckle out of them because I said, ultimately, what we really want to give you operators is a good night's sleep. I want you to sleep better. And that's resonated with them because how many times are they kind of worried about what's really happening in the business? Can I step away? Can I trust my team to handle this moment, this hour, this shift, this week if I'm away? Or my ultimate test for an operator is, could you be away for 3 weeks or a month? I mean, not that that's a big plan, but in your mind, could you game out what does it look like for you to be traveling a necessary trip, maybe a life ship trip or whatever it is, and you have to be away? Will your business go down, stay the same, or grow? And that we want it to be a place where it would grow, even if you're not actually, there. And I know table touches are important and we got to do those, but there's times where you have to step away. And so we want to multiply you. And that's the gift I want to give you today. I want to give you a tool, and you'll be able to download this here in just a minute. We have a QR code where you can download this actual guide that you can sit down and use this with your leaders and help them see ownership. And so to set this up, I brought some tools with me. I don't know if you can see these. So I brought some kettlebells. I went into the garage, into my weight room, and I brought some kettlebells. So I don't think I can do both of these on the screen, but I'm gonna do one of them. So I want you to imagine that Bill and I are near each other here. We're not geolocated, but let's imagine, there you go. Reach out your hand there. So it just, you think about, you've got a bunch of these, right? You're carrying the weight of the business. You have this responsibility that you as an operator feel every day, and you're carrying the weight. And what you're wanting to do is take 1 or 2 or 5 of these and hand them off to somebody that can carry it. Now, so I'm gonna put my hand over here as if I'm receiving it. So let's say I've got my hand on it, and I'm handing it to a director or a leader in the business, and I'm asking them to take on, hey, grow the drive-through. Hey, I need you to, we need to do community outreach, or I want you to take this catering and just blow it up, right? And so you're handing them a big part of the business. And so the question is, as you hand it to them, at what point do they take it? Where is ownership in this transfer? I just want to really slow this down. This is going to help us understand the tool I'm about to show you. So we're holding it. We feel the weight, and at some point they get their hands on it. They don't feel the weight yet because we got our hands on it. And so at some point, I think operators, even directors, especially directors, don't know how to let go at this point. Okay, just feel that for a minute. Are you sleeping well at night? Because this might be why, if you're not. And so how could you clearly make sure that person knows that you're taking your hand? You're not even touching it. You're not even like sensing that it's there or not. You're actually taking your hand off, and you're setting this up where they own whatever it is, and you still can trust that they're going to carry it and move it forward. So slowing that process down, I want to show you 3 levels of ownership that I believe you could use with anybody in your organization, help them understand ownership and grow and really carry bigger and bigger weights in your business. I know we need to start small. So I've called this the ownership timeline. Now, as I look at extreme ownership, I have the book right here. Great book, love it. How do we apply it? How do we put this really to work? And so, what you can do is go to an individual and work through this. Now, you can see hidden in this timeline, I've got some little letters in here. I've got an hour, a marker for hour, shift, week, month, quarter. You could expand that out as far as you wanted to into the past and the future. So with this timeline, and there's actually a printable kind of a card you can use and write this out for them. But as we think about, I had a circle, it's not showing up here, but just kind of circle, like if you were to circle now, you're talking to Bobby or Sally, right? Sarah or Juan or anyone in your organization, you could sit down with them and say, Juan, I love how you do level 1 ownership. Level 1 ownership is owning now. Man, you get in there and you jump in, you care, if you're given a task, you do it with such, energy and gusto, and you're muscling through I love how you muscle through the moments. Thank you for giving us and our team level 1 ownership. But as you talk to them, you might, and maybe they have some challenges in this area, and you can identify them and say, I need you to be more engaged in the moment. Maybe this is a diagnostic. This whole thing's a diagnostic. And so you can walk through this, and even on the scorecard, you can actually rate them 1 to 5, how well they're doing at level 1, owning now. And then you can go to them and say, you know what, let's look at level 2 ownership and see how you're doing. And so you walk over here and you're running through, and these aren't listed on the card, but you can add these and as suggestions. Maybe they admit mistakes and you can celebrate that, but maybe they also make excuses for, well, it was my mistake, but, and so that's not really owning the past. If you're adding excuses, we can really kind of challenge them, saying, look, ownership is a no excuse exercise. And as we look at the past, whether it's the past minute or hour or shift or week, I'm hearing excuses, and that's a problem that I want you to grow in. I want you to be really honest about your part. And so this is just a way to coach them through past ownership. And now this team leader, or whatever level Juan is at, or Bobby, or whomever, we probably shouldn't expect more than now and 1 hour back and 1 hour forward from them. That's about the level of leadership they're at. But let's get them there. Let's get them to clearly owning now, 1 hour back and 1 hour forward. And then we'll wash, rinse, repeat and start expanding that. But we helping them do this in a micro time zone, time space, a scope, I call it. If they can do it in a microscope, then we can start to expand that scope with them. So helping them analyze the last 5 minutes may be our first step in helping them plan for the next 5 minutes and not just live in the now. And so that leads us to this last kind of level 3 ownership. And that's where you want your leader to, they've owned now, they've started analyzing the past, and they're using what they've learned from the last 5 minutes or last hour to now plan into the future for the next 5 minutes or the next hour or the next week, whatever that scope is. So can they plan ahead? Do they have any kind of forward thinking? Can they create, rather than wins coming to them, can they actually design, plan, strategize, create wins? Could they create a system that would help guarantee that future win because they learned from the past? And so all of these things are much more future oriented. I know we want them to get there faster, right? We want them to get to future now. Like when we hire them, we want them already to be able to do this. But this is leadership. This is what we do as leaders. This is what we can train our leaders to be able to do with other people. And I want to make it so practical, so easy that if you do this for 5 minutes with a leader, they should be able to do it 5,000 times for the next 5 minutes each with other leaders and really multiply your ownership in the business. And just think about this for a minute. Ownership ultimately is focus. Like there's something about ownership is such a big word. Ownership has this sense of having, you're not distracted. You're taking ownership. You've got your eyes locked in on a space and you're taking ownership, taking responsibility. And so we're really wanting, if you have 60 sets of eyes in the business or 120 sets of eyes in the business, however many employees you have, wouldn't it be great to have every set of eyes focused on something rather than everyone running around trying to focus on everything? And so one of the things I think ownership should help us do is to break the business down into pieces that a person could really focus in on and own breading and own quality on that coder and know that the milk wash is in the right temp, and then that's all they have to focus on, and they can win at that so that the entire business wins. So we're trying to get this at a place where whatever scope we're asking them to own, that they have uber focus in that scope. And so these three work together. Now there are some danger zones, Bill. So you may already, can you see them already? What are some danger zones? I'll show you one. But by the way, I guess before we get there, think about how this becomes a virtuous cycle.
Right.
So if you can learn to own now, kind of reach back a little bit in the past, whatever they're able to reach back in there. They reach back 5 minutes or 5 days, whatever that scope is, then that helps propel them to own that same scope into the future. And this becomes, I don't have the image here, but just imagine a virtuous cycle where that spiral just gets larger and larger and larger. And we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 through the business. As these people grow up into different layers, their scope has to just get bigger or they're going to get left behind. The business is going to outgrow them if their scope doesn't grow.
Mm-hmm.
So three stuck areas. Okay. And of course there's the first one where someone's just stuck in now and they can't, their scope is just so small. All they do is now. They show up, they do their work, they go home. That's all they own. That's an obvious stuckage point. But we also have those, the pie in the sky stuck points, the kid on the team that's like, oh my goodness, if they're in the kitchen and they're trying to tell us how to run the drive-through. Like, I've got this great idea for the driver. They're trying to think ahead to the next great thing, next great idea. And you're looking at them going, would you just bag right now? Would you just like bag this order, bag it correctly and get it out the window? We have work to do. And so there's some that we deal with, and you could probably put some names on this, right? Where there's some people, maybe they're not kids, maybe they're a lot more mature or should be more mature. And all they're thinking about is the future. And you need them to be more present. Now they don't come in very present. I was coaching it was a kind of an intervention coaching with a kitchen director. And this guy would come in. He was such a cheery guy. He was coming from a different culture and from just a different culture than what was in the business. And he was always trying to come in all cheerful, right? Like, hey, like a cheerleader, like, yeah, great job, guys. And I got to know the situation a little bit better and came to realize that everybody in the kitchen was looking at him going, you're disconnected from reality. We're dying here and you're doing this rah thing. Like, get in the moment with us and then earn the right to encourage us. Don't just come in here rah like it doesn't change anything. We're it felt very disconnected. So I was helping him try to sit with them and understand how to help them in the moment, and then do the encouraging stuff. So we have these stuckage point where it's all into the future, and then I think there's some that get stuck in the past. And you could probably put some names on this too. Maybe you felt this way. I know I have, where I'm stuck in the past and like, I just can't get past that mistake. And I'm analyzing it over and over and over. There's a point of diminishing return on getting stuck in the past, to where we're dwelling on it so much, we're paralyzed by that mistake, and rather maybe we don't quite know how to own it openly or how to talk about it, or maybe we're hurt by something somebody said. Whatever it was, we're stuck in the past, and that keeps us out of the present and not really planning for the future. In fact, we're like cutting ourselves off emotionally because we're stuck in the past. And so you may have some that are there, and that's a moment to say, hey, right now in this timeline, it really feels like you're here. What would you say that's my sense of that is wrong? Help me see where you're in the now and in the future. And so it becomes an opportunity to have a conversation about where they are right now. And so, here we are. These, they're not in the now, they're skipping reflection. All these are on the download. They have this hurt or crippling fear, or they're just so in the future. And so these are opportunities to have these conversations. And there's that growing scope. There it is. It was in the wrong order. So good deal. And so, in fact, we're going to redesign this. I think, this 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Well, that's designed correctly. 1, 2, 3. It's just this growing idea that, but I think the spiral is backwards. So 1, it should be going in this other direction. 1, 2, 3. And so the download's going to look like
there's going to be new stores in Australia, so it'll swirl the other way.
That's right. They've disproven that, I think, but yes, that's right. The swirling on the other side of the equator for sure. And so this is the card. Okay, just imagine you want to do this with a leader. You'll be able to download this and get something that you can print out. You can do this on paper. You can do it on your iPad if you want to, but it gives you a way to talk through, are they doing these things? And you can rate them. And this person is like, well, there's nothing in the future, but you're kind of a 3 in level 2. So this person's growing. And then on the back side, it gives you a chance to talk through some of those, maybe those stuckage points or that growth spiral. Are they maximizing this, this virtuous cycle? And then just identify, and I always encourage you not to have a lot of steps, but just what's one next step for this leader. So we gave you a space to put one next step. So this is the tool. Want to use this as a way to add value to you and your team. You'll be able to download this, print this out, use it on your team. Thank you for keeping our branding on there. I appreciate that. And that, gives us a chance to get to know you and earn the right for other conversations. This is one of 14 tools that I've created for operators to train their teams with, or directors to train their leaders. So that's kind of the main gist of it. I'd love to entertain any questions of anyone on the call. This is a way for you to download your free copy, and I think we may be able to send that link through email, but this link expires in the next 48 hours. So go ahead and download that, and I think you just leave your name and email, and you can get a copy.
That's right. Another point before we take any questions. Your contact information is j.raines@leadersq.com.
Thank you. Yes.
Any other contact information you maybe want to share?
Yeah, I can. We can send that out to jraines.com is a good place to start. That's where you can find out more about my where I my speaking. Um, it's a great link to get to some of these resources and more about my team. So jayraines.com.
Okay. All right. Just didn't want to have
No,
somebody
thank you. Appreciate that.
cut out, maybe they don't have a question and they go to leave. So we didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
And next time, feel free to, under the barcode, put on there whatever you want them to track you down.
will
Uh,
do.
yeah. And it will not show up with CEO zones on your material as it does on the screen currently. That's the video background, not your background there.
Okay.
The story you gave, and I'm watching for questions, but the story you gave, I wrote down it was either 1984 or 1985 at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. There was a gentleman that hopefully everybody still knows his name called Truett Cathy, who shared with all the operators, and I'm going to say there was 150 operators at that point. I don't remember exactly how many. 1984, 85. I was an operator at that point. I'd been a traveling. We didn't have field consultants back then or support center, but I was a traveling 6 day a week traveler, two different restaurants. But he used a similar analogy to you and with the story you told, but he played the movie Chariots of Fire for two reasons. If you remember the movie Chariots of Fire, the Olympic Games, the best runner in the world, which I forget his name, was told, if you want to be in the finals, you're going to run on Sunday. And he refused to race on the Sabbath. So he didn't get the gold award. At the same time, he was a sprinter, and how they handed that baton off and how that ownership went from the first runner to the second runner without dropping the baton and still winning the race. And the story you just gave us in today's terms was Truett himself talking to the operators saying, some of your stores, and this will be a low number to people out there today, but some of your stores are now doing 1.2, $1.3 million, and you need to be training that next level and the next level. You need to be handing that baton off because you can't be there literally 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and stop in on Sunday to make sure the freezers are on, right? You can't do that for 45 years to come.
You should not be the first one on the alarm call list.
That's right. Well, and back in those days, there wasn't an operator who had a assistant or a general manager.
Right.
And you might not have even had well, you did have a full-time kitchen person because back then we made everything from scratch. But at the same time, it was Truett trying to get ahead of this, right? Trying to say it's coming. When you get to a couple $1 million, trust me, you can't do it all yourself. Or some people couldn't do it at $1 million all by themselves.
Yeah, I think that's still true. So there's a sense where an operator can, what I call it wrangling the business. I'm a Texas guy, so we wrangle the business, right? I think you can wrangle the business to about $5 or $6 million, and it's after that, and that's a lot of hours on an operator's part. That's like, that's still kind of that mall mentality of cook up front mall mentality of I'm in the business that much. And it's not wrong to be in the business, but you're going to be the lid to the business if truck orders depend on you. If writing the schedule, if you're writing the schedule, then those are just big questions we need to ask. Like, how have I developed someone, given them ownership of a piece of the business? And so one of the ways I like to think of that, Bill, is imagine standing on a beach, right? And you've got your toes in the sand. Well, as you're looking, you're in the sand, toes in the sand. That's a safe place for kids. They can build sandcastles. They can be there. So that's kind of that team member place. Then you get your eyes just a little higher on your toes, and you look at the small waves, and that's a place for maybe some team leaders. And then you've got, some shift leaders. Maybe they're kind of like lifeguards of an area. They're looking at a space.
Mhm.
And so as you go through the business, eventually you get to the operator, and the operator's gaze should primarily be at the horizon, the highest horizon. What's the storm, the ship? What's next year? What's next 5 years? Those kinds of, it's not that they're ignoring the sand. That's in their peripheral. It should be in peripheral, but they're not having to directly own every piece of that beach. They've got other people making sure that there's safety, making sure that we're, we're standing up against the waves, no one's drowning. And so so that's my picture of business horizon. Everybody should have a horizon on the business, and this ownership timeline is a way to start with that smallest horizon and start growing my view higher and higher on the business.
You mentioned a 48-hour limitation on the scan. Is that because that's how long you want it, or is that a limitation to
I can change that if that, yeah,
Okay.
that's just something that.
My concern would be we put it out there and somebody watches the replay next week.
Oh yeah, no, we'll talk through that with my team. That
Okay.
was something we were doing, especially in speaker events where it's a one time, like a live,
Yep.
like in person situation.
Yep.
And so yes, I can extend that
We want them to do it.
for this link. I can extend that.
Yeah, because there will be replays maybe on your website, our website,
Yeah.
our YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Great point.
Okay. So again, how would they get a hold of you? What's your preferred? Hey, I'm an operator. I like what you said. I talked to the guys in Phoenix. I talked to the guys in Denver, and they tell me you're a good guy. I want to talk to Jay Raines, the owner of LeadersQ. How do I do that?
Well, I'd give you my phone number. I probably shouldn't do that right here, but I will. If you email me, I will give you my iMessage, my iPhone phone number. You can call me, text me, whatever. But if once you download that, we'll start getting in contact with you, and we'll give you a way to schedule. But if you just go to jayraines.com, JAYRAINES.com, there's a button there to click, get on a call with me. And so that'll go into my calendar. You can schedule a time. And thank you, Alexandria. I appreciate that. And so you can schedule a time, and it'll block out a place in my schedule for me to have a Zoom call or a phone call with you. And I just love to hear your story and craft something that works best for your business. Most of our operators like what we do, individual coaching for each leader. So let's say you have 5 leaders. We'll do one-on-one coaching for all 5 of your leaders every month. And then we'll also get them into a group coaching conversation once a month for an hour. And that matchup has been a really amazing way for us to interact with you and your team. And so you have the confidentiality of, I'm so mad at Bill right now, whoever the operator is. I'm so mad help them have a better conversation going in, there's something private, maybe they need to deal with something. Mm-hmm. But then also having the accountability of a group coaching session where they're learning something like this ownership timeline, and they're thinking about how would we implement this, and they're setting goals. Or maybe you've told them, hey, we've got to get food safety to a 1, and we help them game that out, help them strategize. Well, how are we going to get it to a 1 in this time? And so our group coaches are amazing, and they'll can help kind of navigate that. And so those are our 2. I also do a workshop for you. We'll come in and help you kind of design the culture you want to have. And that's a whole nother conversation. We're doing our webinar tomorrow on culture. Bill, we can do another one here for operators about culture. But I have a book coming out about designing your culture. We help you design your culture. Then the other half of the day, we're helping with tools like this, like how do you help with execution and ownership and getting people to know their role. So I do a quick 1-day workshop in person to help get started with coaching with our team.
So for operators that don't know you, because I think this video, the replays will have an audience that don't know you or me possibly. And they're going to be thinking, well, does Chick-fil-A corporate sanction LeaderQ? Give us a little bit of that.
You'll find us on Leadwell. We're one of, I think, 9 coaching companies listed on Leadwell. We've enjoyed being a part of that. But and we, Chick-fil-A has been very clear about we're not a vendor of Chick-fil-A, the entire brand. But they've allowed us to, they've actually invited us to be a part of the Leadwell website. And so you can find us there. And so we're contracted directly with each owner operator.
Yep, you've been to San Diego. You've been to.
Well, the last time I've been to Next, I got invited to Next in 2020.
Yeah.
On the boats. We were on the boats with y'all and on the cruise, and then COVID hit, and so the vendor situation, or we're not vendors, but that situation has really changed. And really, there's just too many people. They have like 10,000 people at Next. They just don't have space for some, like they used to do.
Sure, but yet you're allowed to do a women's group. You are clearly
sure.
You've been I don't
vetted,
know,
maybe
vetted, baptized by corporate. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else you care to share today, Jay? I don't see any questions. So the operators have checked us out, and we're hoping they reach straight out to you, I guess, with their questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity, and looking forward to getting to know any operators out there. And we don't just work with Chick-fil-A, but that's just such a fun relationship. We've really enjoyed those referrals from one operator to the next.
Yeah. When you said, hey, Bill's a problem, or however you put that a few minutes ago, I thought of Ron Trout, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was 14 years old when I hired him at a Chick-fil-A. He's been an operator 40 some years now later.
Wow.
He's thinking about retirement, but he's in no hurry. He's got a daughter with a unit. A son-in-law has 2. He has 3. So, but when you said, hey, Bill, when he was very young, he used to get annoyed with me, but he certainly has done very well with Chick-fil-A. So,
well, we all have those moments, right? And so sometimes we need someone to coach us and help us reflect on a better way to approach a tough conversation. So that's one of the benefits of coaching.
All right. So everybody go to jraines.com, send Jay your questions, maybe set up a telephone call where you could introduce yourself to him, and possibly set your sights on yet another restaurant.
There you go.
Thanks so much, Jay. Appreciate it. And I'll see you backstage.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.